Still recording? Yeah, we are still recording. We should do a Tiger King episode.
Oh, yeah. See, it has me as the background.
Yeah.
That's
now
a
you
bad
look like
anyways.
Che Guevara. You do.
Let's see if I can fuck with this and see if
This
I
is
can
funny as
get
shit.
it. No. Yeah, see, I don't get it. It's picked. I mean, it has my shirt just fine. Is my skin tone too close to the to the wall?
Skin tone's like pretty opaque, man.
Awesome. Yeah, that's probably it. So if I had a different background, I might be better. Yeah.
All right, this is gonna be fun, man. Because now that all right, since we're on the work line, let's wrap up the way we do work meetings. Next steps out of here. What are our marching orders?
So our action items for we got to get a Zoom account first. We got to mess with OBS, right?
OBS.
Figure out OBS. We actually have to kind of, I guess. Well, it's a live chat. We're going to be answering questions. Is there anything you want to touch on before we start answering questions?
I mean, when we do, what we'll do is we'll just go live, and it'll just be kind of just, this one's going to be all over the place, right? Like, hey, what have you guys been up to? What classic games have we been watching? We'll have some, we'll talk throughout the day on certain, like there's definitely the Rose Bowl game we want to cover because a lot of people were talking about that last week, and you know, I did the video.
Are we gonna do the true or false? He had 18 touchdowns, one off Roman Taylor.
Gosh, we can talk about that.
I do want to touch.
I
do want to touch on something because my brother's senior year was his senior year in high school, and he came on for his visit. He said we would have known about him if he scored touchdowns in one game all that way, because the two people that everyone was talking about was Terrell Brown and Limas Swede. It's the two people that everyone was talking about. They weren't talking about him at all. So he goes, I kind of questioned that because Temple, or where it was, he wasn't Temple. He got kicked out of Temple, and then he had to go to, where did he graduate from?
But you know what though? People I talked to, it's somewhere over there.
No, he's a freak athlete, and I hated it every single time someone would say, "Oh, he's the poor man's Reggie Bush." It's like, stop it! Like, just stop it! Like,
well, from a production standpoint, yes,
I
understand what you're saying, though.
Stop saying that, though.
from a athleticism standpoint, he could do all the things that Reggie could do. Now, I'm with you there, and especially the way that Texas was starting to utilize him. They were doing Greg Davis and them were putting him in those same situations. The thing about the difference too that a lot of people got to understand with Texas, with all those guys, right? There were a lot of people getting touches, right? So like when USC backfield back then, it was Lindell, Reggie. They could separate all because Matt Leinart wasn't going to take a single touch running the football, right? So Vince Young had 1,000 yards himself multiple years, right? And then think about all the carries. Vince was carrying the ball somewhere between 12 to sometimes upwards of 20 times per game. He was taking touches away from the running back. You have a freshman Jamal Charles that comes in. He's getting 10-plus carries a game. Selvin Young ran a
10-2 in the 100-meter too.
Yeah, man. Like, I mean, when you factor in all those guys, like no one's stats were going to look like other people's stats at other schools who were the only rushing threat. Yet UT, I believe that year was second in the country in rushing.
And we're forgetting about Selvin Young too.
No, I mentioned Selvin Young.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, like so you have Selvin Young, you have Taylor, you have Jamal Charles, and Vince Young. So that's at times 4 different people who are toting the rock or in a rushing manner.
Short yardage. We had Henry Milton at that time, didn't we?
Did we have it? Was he there yet?
I think so. I think he was. I think he was a freshman.
Team?
I think he was a freshman on that team. Let me see. Henry Milton, college.
I don't know if he was like getting touches like that. If he was, maybe he was.
So let's see. I'm pulling it up. 2005.
Did he get touches in 05?
87 touches, 87 rushes for 432 yards.
Wow.
So yeah. So as a freshman, he had 432 yards.
Yeah. So let's go back. Let's go back.
Holy shit! That we legitimately had 5 guys rushing the ball and almost had 500 yards apiece. So I'm gonna go 2005. I have it up right now. Why would they take it away? I put down 2005.
Man, Henry Melton had more carries than Taylor did, but Taylor had 27 catches that year.
Mm-hmm.
So and again, the way that Texas was utilizing him, yeah, Ramon Taylor had 15 touchdowns that season. Okay. He had 12 touchdowns on the ground. I don't know why I couldn't remember Henry Melton was already on the team then, but we
also had
touchdowns.
Chris Obanaya too as a freshman.
Chris Obanaya.
Yeah, he only had 22 carries, but still.
That's a lot, but that's a lot of work, right? That has to be shared. Look at Vince Young. Vince Young had 155 carries, led the team, right? Mm-hmm. So we didn't even have a running back lead our team in rushing attempts. So this whole thing about, I mean, you look at Ramon Taylor, 103 plays from scrimmage, 778 yards, 15 touchdowns. 15 touchdowns on 100 carries, on 100 touches. That's sick.
Yeah,
you think about for a running back.
Because he returned punts too, right?
I thought it was Aaron Ross on punt. Oh, he was our kick. He was our kick returner. He was our kick returner, and then Aaron Ross. Yeah, I remember Aaron Ross.
Well, still, I mean, as a true freshman, he was a true freshman, right? Romance. He was a true freshman in 2005.
I think that was his sophomore year.
Sophomore year, so he was a redshirt freshman.
Sophomore.
He
played the year before.
He had 103 touches for 800-ish yards. It's not bad. I mean, you'll take that with Vince Young having the ball in his hand all the time. They're going to try to keep it in his hand as much as possible. So, I mean, he's a freak, but it's to catch a touchdown, throw a touchdown, rush a touchdown, get a punt return for a touchdown. What was the other one?
It was a defensive touchdown too, I think.
It was a total of 6 touchdowns, and then he kicked the field goal.
I mean,
that's
you
so.
Call it RG3 said he saw it with his own eyes, man.
I'm just saying, like,
he said he was there.
Wouldn't you
man.
think that we would have heard of that by now? Because
I've heard some crazy stories about him in high school, though. Not the RG3 level crazy. And I think what you're saying is, hey, he was probably a little younger and might be embellishing it a bit, but there's so many dudes I talked to that were in high school around that time that said he was the best high school player they ever saw.
Yeah, and I do not doubt it, especially when you're a big fish and you're just dominating. But all that production in one game, I could see it because he was in the same area that RG3 was at. So he probably went to multiple games and he probably saw him do all that, but I don't think in one game. It's just so hard to believe. And like you would think that Jason, my brother, sent me a write-up of him. That game would have been spoken of in his college write-up.
So RG3 would have been around 8th grade, freshman year of high school.
Let me text you what my brother sent from the actual official write-up for Texas. What he sent to me, because he even saw that. He goes, "Man, I'm pretty sure I would have heard of that." But the big guys that they were talking about within, is this it? Tell me if you get this. I think this is the link. It's a PDF document. I mean, I'd love for this to be true because he definitely would be the what if story of all time for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, I mean, I think still Jonathan Gray because of the prestige he came in with. He was the number 2 recruit overall. Mr. Everything, broke the national record of touchdowns. And then Achilles injury just ruined his career. I mean, 2 Achilles injuries ruined his career.
It still impresses me though that he finished his career at Texas, like at least the player that he was. I know he was at that point really a shell of himself the last couple of years, but I think it always spoke to, because he was always a high character guy to me too, and somebody who was very, very well respected. And Jonathan Gray is a great case study on the touches that we talk about all the time with running backs, because
breaking him down.
His usage rate at Alito was insane.
And he was the start of the Alito, I guess, dynasty that they've been running. He was the guy who started bringing people in.
McClellan right now. Yeah, I mean, they now have JoJo Earl over there who we're trying to, obviously secure his services. So Jonathan Gray, definitely a what if. Also the team, like running backs is tough, man, because if you put Jonathan Gray behind in the 05 team, right, like as a freshman, right, he's probably everything that, now he's a completely different player from Jamal Charles, but from a productivity standpoint, I think he produces the same way Jamal Charles was able to produce for that team. But if you put freshman Jonathan Gray with Case McCoy and David Ash, who were trying to figure themselves out as quarterbacks, not much offense around them, and the offensive line's not the same, he was still somewhat productive, but it wasn't the same. And so at running backs, they're such a dependent position to me that, those guys that are normally freshman sensation, it's no coincidence that they normally have a pretty good team around them. Like Adrian Peterson. When Adrian Peterson got to Oklahoma, he had Jason White, right? Jason White was a Heisman winning quarterback.
But he was also a special athlete that he had what I call the LeBron kind of build where people bounce off of him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I mean, if you remember even like that Oklahoma like offensive line, like all those dudes went to the league. Like they were just, the whole squad was good. Right? So that means he can come in there and be a 1,500-yard back.
Yeah, he had a national championship caliber offensive line. I mean, they went to the national championship his first year.
Absolutely. So it does make a difference because Adrian Peterson had a lot of touches at Palestine. So, I mean, it's all relative. I just think the Texas situation for a lot of these guys, like Foreman, when Foreman ran for 2K plus and won the Doak, that was Sterling Gilbert, right? Like making the decision with the scheme. Not that Foreman wasn't a beast that year. Don't get me twisted, but that was Sterling Gilbert making a conscious effort to say, we're not having any routes over the middle. We're going to run the ball every single time. There's a certain amount of people in the box, and we're running inside zone, and we have the best back in the country to run that particular play, and we ran it to death and killed people with it. And he was able to make people miss a lot because he would break through, and all he had to do is just break down the safety, and it was a touchdown. He broke a lot of long runs that year that way. But that was by design of the scheme.
Yeah, so, safeties didn't want no piece of trying to tackle him full head on. No. 240-pound back running, probably, what was he, a 4'6" guy?
No, well, I mean, he was actually Low 4.4s.
Was he really? Damn.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary.
Low 4.4s. Just never, NFL wise, he's had some issues getting in shape and some off the field stuff. But if the brother could ever refocus, because I think it also led to some of the injuries we started to see him have when he was on the Texans, and then obviously he got dropped by the Colts. But the brother's still only like 25 years old or something like that, 24, 25 years old. You can definitely get into a camp and try to do something, because he's got size, he's got enough wiggle, he can catch. There wasn't his whole thing was just upstairs and
No.
But we got, the backs even we have now, man. Like the backs we have now, what we've had to do in what they've been asked to do in Tom Herman's offense has been interesting, because they do everything, right? Like we ask them to run real routes. They have to run inside zone, they run outside zone,
and we kill teams on that, man. We usually get a wide running back when we drift them out.
Bowl game, yeah. Keontae Ingram got loose down the sideline.
What's it called? The Iowa State game too. That put us in the lead before we lost it. Wasn't it? No, it wasn't that. It was the play touchdown beforehand where we hit him over the middle, up the seam.
I vaguely remember this,
because we even said, "Hey, we did that same play with
Toenail Carter,
yeah, a couple
Shane
years.
Buechele. Yeah, that was when we beat them.
So a very crazy stat is I remember very well that we rushed Foreman 50 times against Kansas. I know that. But how many times do you think we rushed him in the 11 games he played in 2016?
I think he had under 400 yards or 400 carries.
Yeah, he had 323. 6 yards a carry. That's
323.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a healthy load. Now, granted, Jonathan Taylor did that 4 years, and some of the elite backs, over the last few years.
Yeah, he jumped up. He jumped up from 2014 15 carries to 2015 95 carries, and then all of a sudden he hits 323. Yeah. And I remember looking over these stats when it was time for him to leave make the decision whether he's going to leave or not. And I said he'd be stupid if he stayed. I was like, you only have 3 or 4 good years in the NFL. Go get paid.
Absolutely. And a lot of it's always the what if every year with Texas fans, right? Like if Foreman had come back that first year with the 2017 team, are we a different football team? If Lil Jordan came back after his year, him going to the league, and so there's always that what if with guys. But you only have so much football in you, and I think honestly, we got to see how the world's going to change, man. Coming out of COVID-19, I think you're going to see more, even more people not waste any more time trying to get theirs, get paid, and secure their families, because, or at least take the risk if you feel as though you're close or ready. Because once you suffer any type of injury, man, it's such a setback. Like even Connor Williams, him not having that tape where he was All-American his sophomore year, prevented him from being a first round
pick.
Yeah.
Before the season, they were talking about him being a top 10 pick.
Right. So
and then he blew out hurt his knee.
So like Samuel Cosme, like he's going to be a guy who's he's a redshirt junior, so he's already been here 4 years. But if he handles his business, he's gone. He was already trying to leave if he had the opportunity. So these guys, because you go once you get hurt in the league, at least you're under their insurance. It's a different. The team has already put down an investment in you as a player. So it's different. Not to say that any of these guys are making decisions that assuming they're going to get hurt or anything like that. But I mean, even a guy like a Brandon Jones, who's had a pretty interesting injury history, and I think that's going to be one thing that NFL teams will look at. Like, let's say guys like B.J. Foster start blowing it out of the water this year, or Caden Stearns, and they're all draft eligible after this year, right? Don't you think the NFL is going to look at them and be like, "Are you guys damaged goods?" Like, like they need to show that they can A, stay healthy, and B, that's something that they're going to have to figure out is, you have to be honest with yourself. Have you been injured every year you've played football since high school? Like Tua was injured in high school. Then he was injured in, that's a recurring theme where it's like, dude, you're not able to play 12 games consistently.
And I think that's why Colin didn't get that sixth ranking that you're talking about, the top 2 rounds, because he's been injured every single year he's been here at Texas. Every year he has.
And it hinders your development.
Mm-hmm.
If you're constantly working on rehabbing and it's not football related activity, you're losing time of development that another guy that doesn't ever get injured, all he's doing is playing and getting better. He's getting reps. And so how many missed reps did Colin have his senior year alone? Right? So not even playing, not even participating in football.
He played the first 2 games and then missed 5 games in a row, right?
Right. And we don't know how many practices he missed. He probably missed, 80% of the practices if we had to guess, because that hamstring, which is no joke, you have a good day, okay, I can run, and the next day you can't walk, right? So it's tough, dude. It's tough. But that's going to hurt Colin versus Devin Duvernay, who I don't even know if his name's ever even been on an injury report.
Nope.
His whole time at Texas. I don't ever think they've come to a Monday press conference and like, so and so's dealing with this. I don't. It's a difference, man. And teams,
I love Devin, to invest money in that. I love Devin. I know he was our guy last year. That if we got him the ball, if we just put the ball in his hands, he probably would have broken a couple. And finally, we figured it out this year. I remember also even seeing the video of the horns, the catching from the jug machine, and him just catching everything. I was like, oh, if they get him the ball, he's money. And they did, and I'm happy for him. I do feel that he'll be a 3rd to 4th rounder, but I think he will make hopefully he goes to a situation where the quarterback utilizes a slot like him and throws it to where he's comfortable, because he'll catch it. So I hope he goes to a Aaron Rodgers
He also seems to me to be the type of brother that has the temperament to receive this negative criticism that he's getting about his route running ability and not having that wiggle that a lot of guys have. Like, yeah, is he as fluid in and out of his cuts as a Jalen Reagor? No. But is he willing to work on that and loosen up his hips a little bit and sink down and have be mindful with his route running to where it's serviceable, and he can, because the better his route running gets, the more we'll even see his speed, right? Because they do know the long speed, Devin running down the field, he's fast as shit, right? Like
he's a 4.3 guy,
right?
A legit
right.
4.3.
And there was only 5 guys that tested below 4.4 at the combine this year. So he's one of those people, and you do see that on tape at times. I do agree with the NFL when they're like,
he ran away from the LSU defense.
Yeah,
twice he ran away from the LSU defense.
So the thing with the route running though is, there's times like the TCU game in particular. There was a pick that Sam threw that wasn't Sam's fault, where he would keep running and it's like zone, and it's like, dude, you got to sit that down, right? So those are things, he's got to work on that. there are times on the lateral routes, right, where it's like either a slant or a curl or anything like that, where it's like that guy's too slow to be on your hip like that. Like you got to do a better job of shaking people off in those smaller route tree type of routes. Like I see more separation from Devin on the longer stuff where he's just able to use his speed, like post. Like Devin's always been able to separate on a post corner. Devin gets separation, but why aren't you able to get separation on like an out route, right? Like
a
why are
10-yard
people
out,
on your ass, right? So if he can get better at those type of things, and it's just all hip manipulation, like the Jerry Jeudy video that's been going out where he
breaks him up,
he break the dude ankles down, like that's because in the NFL, that's so practical, right? Third and 4. I don't have time for you to run your I know you're fast, but I don't have time for you to run a 50-yard post. I need somebody to go open right now.
So who do you think a team would be that he'd be the best fit for?
Any team, honestly, any team with a veteran quarterback, I think he would shine right away because quarterbacks can help him with that too. The same way Sam would talk to him at times to do those things. So like a Green Bay, Green Bay, like I look at Green Bay, they don't even have a guy right now on their roster that has this type of body in terms of what they could do and utilize him. Anybody like a Kyle Shanahan. Now I know they drafted Deebo Samuel last year, but that's kind of how Devin plays a little bit too, where you just gotta get the ball in their hands and they're rough and they'll run through your ass like Deebo will. Devin, same thing. Devin will break somebody's arm.
I think I agree with you. It needs to be a veteran quarterback, but he also needs a veteran leader for the wide receiver room too. So I would say I know this may sound crazy, but like at Atlanta, I think would be a pretty good fit. I think I definitely, and this may be more for his development purposes, but I do think that I think Arizona with his cousin wouldn't be a terrible fit either. He'd actually play behind what's his name, the guy from A&M. What's his name?
Christian Kirk.
Yeah, Kirk. Yeah. But Kirk may be out of there this next year, or the year after.
Arizona has a lot of receivers. Mm-hmm. So with them getting Hopkins, they still have Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk. They drafted Andy Isabella last year, who was coming on. That was the fast white dude out of UMass. Mm-hmm. And they have Hakeem Butler, who did.
Oh, I didn't know they had Hakeem.
They have Hakeem Butler basically got a red
zone receiver.
But he got injured, so he's coming back. Arizona's kind of stacked. I would like him playing with Kyler Murray. Don't get it twisted. But I just think that they have a lot of young guys that they're already invested in. But
this is also Cliff. He likes himself some weapons.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, even Steelers too, man. Like.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of the Steelers too. They need some receivers.
They need some receivers. They have a lot of unproven guys right now. They have been coming back, so we'll see what they do. But Devin, as long as that's to me, because hand wise, he's a 10 out of 10. Contested catch, he's a 10 out of 10. So and competing and being a professional, like he was a professional as a freshman. In terms of mentality, in terms of how he practices, you take a 5-second look at the brother's body. You can tell his nutrition is A1, his weight room work is A1. He's very, very strong. He looks the part. I've never looked at him and been like, "Oh, the brother's out of shape." Yeah, like you can tell.
I've looked at his brother and said that. As a defensive back, I have. I've looked at his brother. I was like,
"Are you lifting?
They're twins? Like they're twins?"
Oh man,
are you sure?
You been lifting? Bro? Like, why? His chest hadn't even come in yet. Like, what's going on? Yeah. So, I think with Devin, he's just got to, he's also got to show he can play special teams. His tape as a kick returner is
not good.
Negative.
It's not good. Yeah, not
It's
good.
a negative. So that's one thing that Texas people comparing him to Quan Cosby. Quan Cosby was a very reliable kick returner. It wasn't like a home run like Devin Hester or anything like that, but like would always get yards, didn't make bad decisions fielding, and could return kicks as well as punts.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason that through 2 different coaching staffs, we never ever saw Devin on punt return. They always put him on kick return. So those are some questions I have, right? Part of that is the wiggle stuff too, right? Like you look at a Deshaun Jameson who has all the wiggle in the world, right? And so that's who they choose to put at punt return, and because that short area quickness is important. So for him,
they only had him and Brandon Jones back for punt safe. I mean, I remember him back there for punt safe because I would actually want him back there for punt safe over Brandon Jones because he's going to catch it. He's not going to muff it.
No. Brandon's issue though, he was too competitive to be on punt safe. That's like, bro, we don't need you to field the ball right now. Like some of those, you just let it bounce. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
I just need possession at this point. I don't need.
Are you talking about the Oklahoma State game?
Yes!
That was
the
very frustrating. Yeah.
Oh man.
You know what's funny is that you could probably post this one as just us riffing.
I might do that. Yeah, preview for what's to come tomorrow. With so let's link tomorrow and actually do like try to do a live.
Okay, that's fine.
And then I think that should work out. We can either do a lot. Well, I might edit this up, post this.
Yeah, edit the parts where we're first shooting the shit, and then but I mean, literally the last 30 minutes, we were just doing what we do and just talking.
So yeah, we'll do a live, and if there's a way I can have people call in or hit the bridge, and I'll do my research before we put that on. But let's sign off here, man. I appreciate you.
Tomorrow, we could actually test the bridge thing. I can call in from my phone.
Yeah, let's do that beforehand.
We'll test that out, and then I think that because people all have been requesting a little call in for us, so this would be a good way that we could do that.
Cool. All right, my friend.
Appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
No problem. I'm gonna stop recording first.